Today, we are going on a mission deep inside the human body. We're going to meet the microscopic army that protects us every single day, our white blood cells. But we're also here to solve a bit of a mystery. How can this army, this thing designed to protect us, sometimes turn against us with such deadly force?
So let's just jump right in with a medical mystery. I mean, this scenario is terrifyingly real for so many people, and everyday food triggers this sudden, violent, life-threatening reaction. The big question is, who's the culprit? What inside the body is unleashing all this chaos? We are going to find out.
All right, so our investigation kicks off with this really dramatic event, a life-threatening allergic reaction. To figure out who's responsible, we first have to understand the entire system that's supposed to be protecting the patient in the first place. And that, of course, brings us to the main character of our story today, the body's incredible, complex, and unbelievably powerful microscopic army. Now, the formal name for these soldiers is leukocytes. You might be wondering, why white blood cells? Well, it's actually pretty simple. Unlike red blood cells, they don't have that red pigment, hemoglobin, so they're basically colorless. And they are, without a doubt, our body's primary defense force. I gotta say, I love this description, a mobile army. It just perfectly captures what they do, right? They aren't stuck in one place. They move all throughout your body, actively hunting down and destroying this huge range of threats. Everything from bacteria and viruses to even rogue tumor cells. And just like any army, this one has different kinds of soldiers, each with its own special job. So here it is, our lineup of suspects for the peanut allergy case. You've got the lymphocyte, the monocyte, the eosinophil, the basophil, and the neutrophil. One of these five is our culprit. So to keep things organized, scientists basically split them into two main battalions. You've got the granulocytes. You can think of them as soldiers carrying these little packets or granules full of chemicals. And then you have the agranulocytes, who don't have those visible granules. It's a pretty simple distinction, but it helps us classify our 5 cell types. Now, any good army commander will tell you it's all about having the right number of soldiers. Too few, and you're vulnerable. Too many, and you can cause your own chaos. So what happens when the white blood cell count is just wrong? Okay, let's start with the baseline. What's normal? In a healthy adult, for every single tiny microliter of blood, you should find somewhere between 4,000 and 11,000 of these cells. That's the sweet spot. But if that count drops below 4,000, you've got a condition called leukopenia. Basically, your army is understaffed, and that leaves your body dangerously exposed to infection. And if the count goes above 11,000, that's called leukocytosis. Now, this usually just means your body is in the middle of a fight. It's ramping up production to deal with a threat. But it can also be a sign that something else is wrong. You know, leukopenia is a really serious thing in medicine. Think about chemotherapy, for example. It's designed to kill fast-growing cancer cells, which is great, but it also takes out other fast-growing cells, including our white blood cells. This is exactly why chemo patients are so vulnerable. Their defenses are down, and bacteria that are normally totally harmless can suddenly cause these devastating infections. And then on the complete other end of the spectrum, you have leukemia. This is a cancer where the body starts pumping out a massive number of abnormal, useless white blood cells. This out-of-control army just clogs up the whole system and stops the bone marrow from producing the healthy cells we actually need. So you see, the key takeaway here is balance is everything. All right, with all of that background, it is time. Time to solve our mystery. We've seen the 5 main types of cells. We know a little bit about what they do. So which one is responsible for that terrifying allergic reaction? Let's zoom in on the surprising culprit. Now, this is what I find absolutely fascinating. Just look at these numbers. Neutrophils make up over 60% of the entire army. Lymphocytes are around 30%. But our culprit, the basophil, look at that. It makes up less than 0.5%. It is by far the rarest soldier in the entire force. So the question is, how on earth can something so incredibly rare be so incredibly powerful? And there it is. This is the cell at the very center of our investigation. That dark, grainy-looking cell right there is a basophil, just hanging out, surrounded by ordinary red blood cells. It looks so unassuming, doesn't it? But it packs a serious punch. And this phrase just says it all, doesn't it? Rare in number, but powerful in action. It perfectly describes the core paradox of the basophil.
You can almost think of them as the special forces unit of the immune system, tiny in number but capable of a massive, overwhelming response when they're called into action.
So how does this one tiny cell cause such a gigantic problem? Well, it's a very precise four-step process. First, during a person's initial exposure to something like peanuts, the body gets sensitized. It creates special antibodies that latch right onto the surface of these basophils. The trap is now set. Then, the second time that person eats peanuts, the allergen binds directly to those antibodies waiting on the basophil. That's the trigger. This binding activates the cell, causing all those internal granules to rush to the surface. And finally, degranulation. The basophil literally dumps its payload of powerful chemicals right into the bloodstream.
And what's in that chemical payload? Well, this is the stuff that causes all the chaos. Histamine is the big one. It makes your blood vessels leaky, which causes all that swelling, and it dangerously tightens your airways, making it hard to breathe. And then other chemicals just pile on, making the breathing problems even worse. It's a chemical cocktail designed to sound a massive body-wide alarm, which in this case goes terribly, terribly wrong.
You know, this whole scenario just reveals a much bigger picture. The unbelievably delicate balance that our bodies have to maintain every single second of every day. So, if there's one thing to take away, it's this. We all have this amazing mobile army fighting for us inside our bodies. And in that army, even the absolute rarest soldier, a cell that makes up less than 1% of the entire force, holds the power to unleash a response that can be life-saving or, as we've seen, life-threatening. It's a system of truly immense power and complexity. And that leaves us with one final, fascinating question to chew on. Basophils aren't totally alone. They have a cousin called mast cells, which also release histamine. But here's the thing. Basophils are in the blood, and mast cells are in the tissues. So why would the body need two very similar cells in two different locations? It's just a little hint that there's always another layer to discover in the amazing story of our immune system. Thanks for joining us for this explainer.